Today was Wacky Wednesday. Most of us got whacked in our portfolios as the Nasdaq was down 330 points or 1.78%. The volume was 15% above the 50-day average daily volume. So, welcome to my daily review. I know a lot of people were complaining they were down 5 or 6% in their portfolio and only ended up down 3, so they were happy about that. Tough day. As we saw some profit taking in the index, you've had a big rally, a lot of profits to be had, a lot of stocks were up quite a bit. And it's normal to have profit taking ahead of the earnings reports from the Magnificent Seven, starting with Tesla this week, today, in fact, and then next week, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta. So that's what's going to drive the index. I think they're going to be good. We've seen a lot of solid earnings reports from the AI companies and some other areas not so much, but the AI seem to really be starting to gain some traction now. But anyway, the Nasdaq was down. I'm not going to go through all the other indexes. You know what kind of day it was today. It was a stinker. But I wanted to start off with NVIDIA. They don't report until November 20th. So we have some time for NVIDIA. This thing, all it did today, you can see the buy point there at 140. I've had it, on our buy uh, ready list here for a while. I mean, if you didn't get it at 100, we had it at 120. If you didn't get it at 120, there's still, chance to get it at 140 here. I don't know how long this is going to hang out as it broke above that, that Darvis box, if you will, earlier in the week on Monday, I guess, and now has pulled back a couple of days. And if you just look at it technically, all it did was pull back to its 10 EMA, which is not the end of the world. Okay, that's what stocks do. It's still up more than 1% on the week. You can see it's up after hours. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But it was down. It owns part of ARM Holdings, so I don't know, maybe a 20% stake, something like that. And ARM, they've been battling with Qualcomm, and today or yesterday, last night, they just said, they're going to stop, licensing with Qualcomm. So I thought that Qualcomm would get hit harder than ARM, but ARM was down 6.5%. That's quite a beating there, almost down to its 50. So NVIDIA is down to its 10, and everybody's crying about it. Just a normal pullback. This one is just 2.8% above the 50. So not a great day for ARM. And then Qualcomm got hit as well. Not as bad though, only 3.8%. So I guess this battle's been going on for a long time. It's not surprising. It's just the market's always going to have a knee-jerk reaction. They're going to overreact, and then they'll come to their senses, and these stocks will probably be up later on in the week or next week. Um, yeah, that's not that big of a deal. This is Broadcom. It sold off all the semiconductor names, sold off with that news. So yeah, I mean, just there's nothing you can do about it, right? I mean, AMD, you can't own this one below the 200, below the 50 now. That one looks terrible. A-Lab, this IPO, recent IPO, has been acting well, pulled back to its 10, just like NVIDIA here, trying to form a little shelf type pattern. Taiwan Semiconductor, now this stock was up 1.2%. What I look for when the market gets whacked like this, um, well, a couple things I look for. I'm going to go back to the NASDAQ here. Sorry if I'm toggling back and forth, but I look for, it was down, what did I say, 300 points today. Okay, so what we want is we want 150 back. You can see that it just pulled back to its 21 EMA and then closed 0.3% above it. So out of that 296, we'll call it 300 loss. I need to get 140, 150 points back tomorrow. And that's pretty much essential. Otherwise, we're going to have to reconsider this rally here. It closed 0.3% above the 21. It's still 2.4% above the rising 50. So, you're going to have profit taking days ahead of these Mag 7 earnings reports. All right, I'm going to move on. One of the things that we're seeing is earnings, and like I mentioned, the AI earnings are pretty darn good. This is Vertiv Holdings. They had a beat and raise quarter. Stock sold off. And what did it do? It just pulled back to its 21 EMA and closed at 32% of the daily range. So this is a big ranging bar here. And that to me is pretty ominous, closing below the 10. And if we look at the weekly here, that low bar takes out last week's low of 106.29. Today's low is 104.52, and it did not take out the low from 2 weeks ago. So not ideal, but not the worst thing in the world. If we just look at this daily action, I was looking at it in pre-market. It was down like $100, and that's why I don't pay attention to pre-market. I was down, and then it opened up lower. So the low of the session was the initial bar, and it showed you that daily range pretty early in the day. What was the opening bar? The 104.52 was the low, then it rallied up to 116.41. So that's a $12 range there. Pretty broad range as you saw on the daily chart, but it traded within that range throughout the day and closed with a whimper. I'm thinking it's going to get some of that back tomorrow. That was a pretty stellar earnings report. I was surprised. You see the accelerating sales growth here, 8, 13, 19%. They guided for above 14% going forward. And then the EPS, still trading there at what, 46% earnings growth. Heck, anything over 25% is pretty darn good. Anyway, so not a great response to a really solid report. And I own this one, I reduced my position. I have 5% position in this one. I'm just going to watch it. I'm just going to watch it. My expectation is it's going to continue to find support at the 21. I'm not saying it's going to make a new high anytime soon, but probably an inside bar there as it did make that high today, 116.41, got above the prior high of 116.19. So that is a big bar, something you got to be mindful of. All right, GE Vernova, this one reported as well. This one is stronger than Vertiv as it just pulled back to its 10, found support and bounce, and it closed at 79% of its daily range. So that's a much stronger stock, much stronger action here. There you can see the daily range in the first 20 minutes. It went up to 282. So you have some profit taking, then you got some buyers, and then profit taking, and then high volume close, which is what you want to see. So that looks pretty good. GE Vernova looks better than BRT for sure. This is AT&T, and they had I don't know, I guess for them, they had a good report, up 4%. So, congrats to the longs. This thing's trading right near buy point there at 22.34. If you're into, this thing's had a nice run and it's consolidated and, maybe wants to trade higher. Certainly has a massive yield there. I think about 7%. It pays you every quarter. Coke reported, not a good response. Yeah. Warren Buffett will survive though, right? It's sliced its 50 on the earnings report. NEE, this is one we've had on our ready list recently. Ran up, pulled back to the 50 before the report, and now today it was up 1.5%. So the utilities were the strongest sector today. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. TMO, Thermo Fisher, not a great response to the report. And then what else? Oh, LRN. This one broke out today. This is a education, learn, right? LRN, consumer services education, right? In Reston, Virginia. I've never been to Reston. I've been to Lynchburg. Anyway, this one popped. 40% move. That's a move not to be ignored. Anyway, I'm going to move on to some of the sectors. When you see the indexes sell off like they did today, I always look for strength in the market, and it doesn't mean that they're powering higher. Just going flat on light volume is showing relative strength. When the market's down, like we saw the SPY today and the Nasdaq down, this is 1%. You can expect your growth stocks to be down 2 or 3%. And the Nasdaq, what did I say? It was down today, 1.6%. So yeah, you can expect your growth stocks will be down, 3 to 5% actually. Anyway, I'm going to move on to some names showing strength now. VMI, they reported earnings and broke out of a base. This is a classic textbook cup with handle pattern right here. There's that handle, the pullback to the 21, and then popped on earnings 10%. Very nice. Its partner, its running mate, this is a metal fabrication stock. It broke out yesterday, 14%. It just had an inside day today, a light little pullback. If a stock goes up 14% and only gives back 1.5, I'll take that all day long. B is another one in this group. This one got bought out, so it's kind of flatlined. But you always like to see mergers and acquisitions within the group. And then APA, which is not in the group, but it's got its own, electronic parts group, and it had a nice day today of 2.4%. So got to move on from that group to the drugs, the biotech stocks that were doing well today. These guys kind of trade on their own. This is a CAPR. I've been showing this one a lot because I like the high tight flag pattern. And you say, look at that, Marty. There's nothing tight about that. That's true. It was up 6.2% today. But if you look at the weekly chart, you can definitely see the flag, the high tight flag pattern, even if it's not as tight as you would like. I mean, this thing ran from what, $5 up to what, 23, and now it's forming this little flag. So it's going to need some time to, flag out in here. But if it stays above 20 and just goes sideways, that looks pretty darn good to me. Let me see, what else do we have here? Oh, BLTE. This is a super thin stock, but I'm just showing its strength, and that's got it in spades there, up 8% on a day like today. We'll take it all day long. I think you would like to add a couple stocks, 8% in your portfolio today. CPRX, like I said, it wasn't up, but it was just flat, 12 cents, 0.5% move. And just pulling back to its 10 EMA here. So nothing wrong with that. I kind of like that action there, and above 21.66. That looks pretty good to me. Nice little base there. And the last one is EWTX. This is edgewise. EWTX, there you go. Pulling back to its 10, up 1% today. This thing, obviously, you can see this one's had a big move as well. That is not a high tight flag. It's just it is flagging. This is like a bull wedge pattern here as it pulls back. We've seen a lot of these during this rally as it pulls back, and then it finds support. And if the market's up, maybe it'll blast off tomorrow off that 10. Anyway, that's it for the biotech names. I've got to get to the banks and the finances because they've been doing well ever since Powell said he was going to lower interest rates, and they had really strong earnings recently. This is VBTX, a bank, regional bank in the Southwest. I've been showing you a few of these here recently. This one traded down to its 10. Once again, that familiar pattern, that pull back to the 10 and then find support and bounce. That is nice. Zion had the big move yesterday. What did it do today? If I could type in the ticker symbol, we could find out. Yeah, it had an insight. Nope. It pulled back today 1%. Yeah. Anyway, not a big deal. NTRS, now they reported earnings and gapped higher. You could see that this familiar, wedge pattern pulling back to its 10 and then popping 7%. So a nice move for Northern Trust. This is a super regional bank, but the banks have been pretty strong here recently. TRU. There's something wrong with my keypad, or I'm not hitting them properly. Anyway, TransUnion up 2.7%. You can see it made this shelf pattern after it ran higher. This is almost like an ascending base pattern where it runs up, then pulls back, runs up, then pulls back, runs up. And this one just kind of went flat and then popped, 2.7% today. CFR. This one, I like it because, why do I like this, Marty? Well, it's got a base on base pattern, and it pulled back to the 10, like I keep showing, and then popped nearly 2%. How does the weekly look? This is another one of these banks from the Southwest. Looks like it's breaking out of a stage. I'd call it a stage 2 base. Looks pretty good. based on base pattern, you know, stage 1B, whatever, stage 1, stage 1B, whatever. It's breaking out. And that's a nice pattern there. And then FI, this one continues to show strength. Pull back to the 21 yesterday and then found support. And this is why, you know, you look at the daily range, that's 98% of the daily range. What did it do? It followed up today with more gain. So if you take a look at the stock yesterday, closing here, you know, with volume near the highs of the session, and then just followed through today, just continuation of the prior session. All right. Let's move on to something that I don't show very often, the REITs. The REITs were strong today. This is VTR. If you've been with me at all, then you know that that looks pretty good right there. Why? Well, it's had a big move. It showed the ability to move. Now it's consolidating in a base, trading tight near that 10 EMA. So I like that a lot. 65, 50, 64. I'm not a real REIT fan because they're slower movers, and you got to really pay attention to where you know their property is located. This is a senior healthcare related, so you know that makes sense with the boomers being put in old folks home by their kids. um, I shouldn't laugh. I'm going to be there soon. AHR, but you know you got to be careful because if there's commercial real estate that's not doing so well, or you know there was the movie theaters that were hit there for a while. I just got to pay attention to where the location is, and you know the malls. Tanger was having trouble for a while. So this is another one, diversified portfolio of healthcare and real estate properties. This one pulled back to its 21, formed a little shelf. It popped today, 3.2%. That's American Healthcare REIT. So like I say, I don't cover these very often, but you know, just showing strength. This is a SLG. This is one that I do kind of like. I believe it's a monthly pair, and it just pulled back to its 50. It ran up, and now it's pulling back, waiting for the 10 to catch up to it. And then last one is HIW. This is a REIT. This is Highwoods Properties. You can see it's located here in the East Coast. Um, yeah. Anyway, industrial properties. All right. Like I said, I'm not familiar with these. I'm just showing strength. This is ran up here, formed a little shelf, and the daily range was not good today. I saw this earlier and it was much higher. The daily range is 12% of its daily range. So kind of weak close there. If you want to look at the 5-minute chart, you can see probably selling off into the close. Yeah, look at that. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for the REITs. Not one of my favorite groups because they're slower movers. I did mention earlier that the utilities were the strongest sector today. This is Consolidated Edison, a diversified. This is a big, what is it, 37 billion market cap, and it's just trying to poke out of that buy point there, 105.99, call it 106. So above 106, or I kind of like this stock. It's a slower mover. It's a big dividend payer, one of those widows and orphan type stock, but nothing wrong with that. SO Realty Income, that's another one. Real Southern, this is another utility name. You can see it's in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi. Pulled back to its 50, found support, and now showing strength. Up more than 1% on a real weak tape today. NI, this is NiSource, another utility, diversified. You can see the locations here, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Kentucky, Maryland, Massachusetts, and finding support at moving averages and bouncing higher. A little bull wedge bouncing off the 10. There's nothing wrong with that. That shows good strength. CEG, I just put this one on. I didn't even look at it. All right. So it just pulled back to its 21, like we saw a lot of stocks do. I mentioned VST yesterday. I expected it to pull back to its 21 and bounce. It's tried to bounce today, and then the weakness of the market got it. There you can see pull back at the beginning, then the rally higher, and then it just stayed within its daily range, which most stocks normally do. Anyway, oh, TLN. I didn't look at this one either. I just wrote it down because it pulled back recently to its 50, and now it's bouncing. So this one looks pretty darn good. I mean, yeah, just pull back to 150. a few days ago, a few sessions ago. Now it's a 183, so that's a $33 move. Yeah, 148. Look at the big volume coming into Talon, so that looks pretty good. So enough of the utilities. I got to get to some software. AppLovin, this is just a relentless stock. It made a new high today, 165, and then closed lower, but it still looks like not much of a range, right? I mean, there you can see the pop at the open, got up to, what was it here? I think this bar was 1045. So an hour 15 in, it showed you the high. Then here it makes the low of 157 and then closes there at 159. But still, it's up, a 1/4%, and it's been ripping higher. You can see this move. So it's got a lot of strength. It doesn't want to go down, even when the Nasdaq goes down. It goes up when the Nasdaq goes up. It goes up when the Nasdaq goes down. It doesn't care. Jeez, super strong stock. CLBT, another one that I don't talk enough about. I have it on our leading stock list. It's not doing nothing wrong, just finding support consistently. You can see these little wedge patterns here. They pull back to the 21, pull back to the 21. Now it's pulling back to the 10, making that little bull wedge flag pattern. Yeah, it was down 0.75% today, but showing strength in a weak tape, not bad for that one. And then Oracle, they reported they gapped higher. Now it's just surfing like Kelly Slater. I mean, it was down 1.125% today, but it's had a big run. So, like I say, some profit taking in these stocks ahead of the Magnificent Seven reporting earnings. The housing market is hit and miss. I mean, I'm telling you, um, they're rate sensitive, so you really got to be careful. This one sliced its 50 yesterday. They reported earnings. It was up, nearly 4% today, but still going to probably play teeter-totter with that 50 until the rates calm down. I like the home building sector, but you just got to be careful, and you can't get in it now until things calm down. It's really been volatile since Powell lowered interest rates. Pulte Home is one, for instance, just sliced its 50. That does not look good. DR Horton sliced the 50. So you got to let these things calm down. GRBK is another one that slices 50. It was flat on the session, which is showing relative strength in a weak tape, but it's still below the 50 is a no-go for me. And then NVR, this is not a lot of volume because it's a $9,000 stock, 28, 29 billion market cap, and it just pulled back to its 50 and squatted there today, down a 1/4%. So watching the home builders, they're just showing weakness because of the 10-year yield has just gone up so far so fast. This is Builder First Source, now below its 50. So anyway, I just had to show you that group. I'm watching, keep my eye out for stuff. Even some of the oil names, Venom showing strength here. Yeah, just looking around the miners. SCCO has been one that's showing strength. The gold and gold plays ego, they took a hit today. In the morning, gold was up, but it must have come down because all these stocks are down today. So anyway, I'm not going to go through all that. I'm just going to say thank you for watching. Uh, it's really important that you have a system. You buy at proper buy points. Even if you're buying at a proper buy point, you might be buying early and the stock might sell off. And if it does, you cannot afford to take more than a 5% loss in this market. Do not argue with the market. I'm telling you, because if you take a 50% loss, like say something like ELF, where it went from 200 to 100, and you're arguing with the market, you're down 50%. And so in order to make that up, you need a two-bagger. You need to go to 200, from 100 to 200, just to get back to even. So don't argue with the market. When it slices to 50, get rid of it. When you're down 5%, get rid of it. If you can take many, many 5% losses if you get just a couple 25%, 50% gainers like we've had recently. So I'm just preaching here because I think it's very important to have rules. I mean, it's essential to be successful in this business. You have to have rules. You have to have a system. You have to have strategies. You have to stick to them. and protect your assets when the market sells off and it's telling you that you need to get out of a stock at a 5% loss. Do it. You can always buy them back. Anyway, thank you for watching nmcstockcharts.com. Like Columbo and like Steve Jobs, we have one more thing. And that is, well, I mentioned that the Mag 7 are starting to report earnings, and Tesla reported tonight a nice quarter, a beat. It's up nearly 9%, and this is certainly going to help the tech stocks tomorrow, just like, ARM and NVIDIA heard them today. So you're asking, where is that 50 at? Well, today it was 228.29. So maybe tomorrow, if it gets above 229, stays above the 50, that looks pretty good. Remember, it's got a gap to fill here at 232. So it looks like it might just do that at the open tomorrow, up 9%. So nice quarter. You always got to wait for the conference call, though, because you never know what a CEO is going to say or a CFO is going to say on a conference call, but looks pretty good here, up 9%. A couple of others that reported tonight, Lam Research. This is a semiconductor equipment stock, in with ASML, which bombed in Applied Materials. This one's up 4.5%. This is a 94 billion market cap, so it's no small potato here. And this definitely could help our semiconductor. Tesla could definitely help, the tech stocks tomorrow, the AI cohort. So that's something to look forward to. IBM, I saw it trading lower, 3%. I did not see the report. I'll have all this in the morning. CLS, this is a smaller player, small cap stock here, up 8% though, so we'll take that. The electrical contracting manufacturing group, that's Sanmina, that's in that group. And then Flex, the electrical contractor manufacturing, which is, the top 44 group out of, wow, Flex looks pretty good here, pulling back to the 21. See that little bull wedge pattern here. So looking for a pop tomorrow from Flex, down 4% after hours. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, I got to move on. Newmont, this is a minor, down 7% after hours. Like I said, I'll have more in the morning. I have no idea what they said or what the earnings was like. ServiceNow flat at 900 after hours. We'll see what happens. I'll have more on that. I did not listen to the report. Viking, this is I don't know if you can call it an earnings report because they don't have any earnings, but normally they release some data at these quarterly events, but nothing, burger flat after hours. In Las Vegas Sands up, okay, 1%. I'll have more in the morning on this. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up, so you don't either. Have a good evening.